Wearing a nice shirt.
Cool beans. Just going to check myself out in the camera for a little bit on the podcast. You might hear cats munching. I always feed them
Crunching.
right when we start because otherwise they're absolutely crazy. Just like us.
Yeah, we're pretty crazy.
We're pretty super crazy. Man.
We're pretty crazy. If you watched our pilot episode of the live play, it was on Discord, it's on our Patreon, and I might make it public maybe like next week or so for everyone else to watch.
Did you do much? This is background talk. Did you do much to the audio at all?
No. Huh. All I did was I went in. There were 2 tracks, one that had just us, one that had us and music on it.
That's what I
took off the top one and then...
Understood.
So it wasn't overlaid, but yeah, it was sounded pretty good.
We've had issues that I couldn't solve for the longest time because I think we were trying to separate all of our audios. And when I said, fuck it, everything just worked. And I was like, wait a minute, this was the solution the whole time. So that wasn't what we were waiting on for the live play in particular. I just had some life circumstances that we talked about prior. Don't need to worry about that. But I'm excited.
Yeah, I think it went well.
I wasn't expecting to learn as much about what I wanted to play.
Okay.
And like what I liked and disliked. It really did. And now I'm just like, in your session zeros, maybe have a session 0.5 if your players aren't sure about the character. Even if they are sure, have them test it out anyways if it's something they've never done before, because that would have saved me 2 times turning from Tome Warlock into Hexblade. Literally.
Yeah. Sometimes you pick something that you think, man, flavor-wise, this sounds great.
Yes.
I'm going to get to something today that sounds great, but to me, I don't enjoy it today.
Really?
Yeah.
So I have there's a lot of thoughts. So what are we talking about today? We have our best friend Unearthed Arcana came knocking on our door again.
Daddy Arcana's here.
Daddy Arcana.
Let us way in.
I got a very scary message, Ryan, saying he was excited to waffle about Unearthed Arcana. So I figured you might have been taken by some sort of mind flare or something, but that's not the case.
Not something that I say often or say lightly.
But yeah, he's Ryan.
He's Braxton.
This is the Dungeon Crawl. We're going to be jumping back into Unearthed Arcana. Woo! If you remember back in 2019, we had a whole slew of Unearthed Arcana back to back to back to back when we realized it was stuff we could talk about.
Yeah, that was on the way leading up to Tasha's, I think. Yeah.
Still in Chicago, and we were still doing things separately.
Wow. Time flies, huh?
So right off the bat, they're doing something different with even the post itself. Like, now you can look at what I'm looking at. Like, this is not how this is looked like.
True. This is very...
And this already...
There's a little video that goes along with it.
Already having a video.
Which I did not watch. Maybe
I haven't watched yet. I figured it was just going to be them getting excited about it.
It's the same thing, them reading...
But
look at Jamie Crawford. Look how happy he looks.
They've done videos on Unearthed Arcana before, right?
I don't think so. I don't think they have.
So this right away is telling me that they at some point internally have said, what can we do with Unearthed Arcana? I feel like it's a missed opportunity. We're just releasing these things. Can we turn it into more of a...
Yeah, the fact now that D&D Beyond is connected to WotC, I feel like there's no excuse to not have Unearthed Arcana as a thing you can
other than
use
paying people.
True, other than paying people. But I feel like that'd be an easy way for them to get lots of data, lots of playtest data.
Absolutely. So I don't know. I think, like we talked about in our last episode, things that we're wanting to see from 5.5e, the jump into fully digital changelogs updates like how video games do is a touchy subject that they need to balance, right? Because it's tabletop, not computer desktop role-playing games.
Sure. True.
Even though I love them like that. So I was not excited jumping into this. Giant aren't
options. Yeah.
You know, my jam. They're not the Lovecraftian themes that I usually get jazzed about.
But typically
they're cool. They're cool. Yes.
Cool. They're usually very old, so they got some cool lore to give. They've been around for ages. They're connected to some big important events, usually in D&D related lore. So
I jump into it. Subclass options, nothing about warlocks.
Yeah, already checking out.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. It's actually what happens whenever I see that there's nothing for a warlock here. But am I wrong? There's a lot of stuff for a warlock here. But these are subclass options and feats with the usual, hey, this is play test material. It's probably overtuned. It will probably not come to light like this or come to light at all.
True.
I think it probably will because it's too heavily themed to not go in with a book or something.
I said this before we started recording, but I have no idea what this could be alluding to. This is definitely not a Planescape or a Spelljammer, nothing. So I have no idea what this could be leading to.
in some of the new books coming out, are giants not a part of those campaign settings or worlds?
The problem is we have no idea what's coming out.
They've
announced only the Spelljammer and the book that's coming after that, which is like a group of one-shots.
Okay, so I, like you, have...
And Dragonlance stuff.
Dragonlance. I don't know. I have absolutely no idea what this could be. But let me ask you, do giants have spellcasting usually?
Some do, yeah.
Not giants, sorry. Oh. Yes, barbarians.
Barbarians, there's a couple that have like spell options.
Okay.
I think.
Barbarian's probably the class I've read the least, but when I start reading more about it, it's really similar to the playstyle I do with Hexblade. You mark something and you're in a heightened state for 6 rounds, and you can only do that a limited amount of time. And I'm starting to realize like this is very similar to what I like. But first up, if you couldn't tell already, Barbarian, Path of the Giant. Everything is going to be themed around like Norse, giant-y, runic stuff. Barbarian in this case, it's just straightforward giant. They get their raw strength from giants. They rage and they get bigger. They get stronger. They can be Thor, kind of.
It's really interesting. Another barbarian that's more Thor-like called Path of the Storm Herald. But.
Yeah. But in this case, you kind of have giant heritage or just get powers from them. So this is the most straightforward turning into it. At 3rd level, you get a bunch of stuff like the Power of Giants. You can read the language as well. And you get the ability to learn another language. So you're getting more stuff off the bat from your feats, from your subclass. Which is something sneaky, but...
Well, it's very sneaky because Barbarian typically, and I did double check, and please call me out if I missed one. From my understanding, there are not really any other Barbarian subclasses that give you 2 features at level 3. This one does. Granted, the first one's very weak and just gives you the ability to speak, read giant, and can cast Druidcraft. That would hurt you, but still, you get 2 things.
Yes. And that's a theme through this whole Unearthed Arcana. These are not vanilla style.
No.
This is more that last...
They're branching.
Sorcerer subclass level of tunage.
Yeah.
Over tunage.
Yeah, I really like this Barbarian one.
I fucking adore it.
I mean, you get large, you get an extra reach increase to 5 feet, and eventually gets to 10 feet at level 14.
And not forgetting that your size increases, so technically you're also getting an extra 5 feet on top of that because your squares are out.
Sure, you go from large to huge.
Yeah. So it's super
crazy. You better
crazy.
have those minis ready.
Yes.
Bigger.
Something. The hurl is really, really, really interesting.
Yes. Yeah.
There's 2 hurls. The first I'm talking about is a crushing hurl, making a range attack with weapons that you can throw, adding your rage damage bonus. I always get scared about barbarians. Like, what the fuck do they do when they're not raging?
They're always raging.
But I'm sure that's stuff that's in the regular subclass, and we should probably do a review on barbarians at some point soon when we jump back into that. But the elemental cavalier or cleaver is...
I like this one a lot.
You've seen me complaining about the dragon elemental stuff where they can pick any elements, and I'm like, that's not how dragons work. And then I'm like, okay, you know what? They're just trying to give melee options more abilities to do elemental damage type rather than just slashing. You get to pick
a different item. Yeah. This is just all inherently. You infuse it,
and it's a bonus action. You can change the damage type. No limit.
Yeah. So you hit something, and the DM's like, "This doesn't do as much damage as you would have liked." Yeah. Okay. Well, just gonna move it to lightning.
So at 6th level, you're getting an extra D6 of elemental damage, a 20 feet to 60 feet range throw in your weapon, and you can snap it back to you.
Jesus.
Anybody else who holds the weapon doesn't get the power, so that's why I said it was kind of like Thor stuff. But my favorite thing, and honestly the most insane addition, how do we throw people in D&D? How can you do that now?
Not easily, no.
1 action to fucking grab, and they can save. You have to stay there for a full round, and then they have to fail if they choose to, try to get out of you. 2 saves, a full round, another action to attempt to throw them with improvised rules, because I don't think there are any.
They're not, as far as I'm aware. Using your strength modifier in some way.
Which is another save, or contest, and then maybe you throw them like 5 feet.
Yeah.
This is a bonus action, strength DC, if they're unwilling, while raging, to throw them 30 feet.
Medium or smaller.
A bonus action, not 3 saves, action in a round.
There's no damage, sadly.
Unless you throw them high enough.
True.
And they fall something. So there's no damage. And movement options and throwing people, maybe not that great, but they can't...
Toss them off a cliff.
Maybe they're on your healer and they can't fucking get away and you can't seem to get their reaction baited out.
So yeah,
So fun. That demon's going to be changing their battle maps. If there's a hole in the ground, you're going to be paying attention to that shit.
I like that. You just get, well, it's especially again using your bonus action, using different things, using the mechanics of Dungeons and Dragons. Isn't that a crazy thought?
It's a crazy thought, and it's stretching what I feel like a bonus action is. Like, hey, can we go to a 3-action system? That would be impossible because they say it's backwards compatible.
True.
If so, that would be way too tough. Well, maybe. I don't know. If they go, sorry, this is the last episode. If they go with the 3-turn action thing or something similar to Pathfinder, they could just say anything that takes 1 action, maybe takes a bonus action in the previous system. If you're trying to go backwards, I don't know. We'll see. I just
or
want
maybe 1 action is 2 actions and a bonus action is 1 action.
Yes.
And then they can add things that are 3 actions.
Yes. Watsy, write this down.
Hire us
and
right
the,
now.
the final thing you get, huge.
This one I literally wrote, oh shit.
Now your reach now increases by 10 feet. So that's not 15. Yeah. It goes from 5 to 10. Wording that they'll probably have to fit again. 10, But your size has increased by a radius of fucking
you're huge.
10 already. So that is 20 extra feet of reach.
Large or smaller creatures with your throw.
Yes, it is amazing. And then your elemental damage is 2d6. So there's scaling, elemental, spell-ish type versatility for a melee class.
This guy's powerful.
This guy is very powerful.
I think Barbarians honestly have gotten some really cool subclasses lately.
They do. And I'm reading this and I'm like, boy, it's pretty cool, pretty fancy. So it's got me excited right away. I was not expecting Barbarian, probably the class that I usually have the least amount of interest in, which if I read it, it wouldn't be that way, but it's always scared me.
Yeah.
And this has made me feel, okay, Watsy, I've never once liked every feature you've put in a subclass or a class.
Damn, that's
and I've enjoyed at least like Mighty Impel. Is it useful? Niche a little bit. Is it fun as fuck? Yeah.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, I've been saying that a lot more lately with the Barbarian subclasses. I'm like, I don't really like Barbarian, but this is sick. And now the more I say that, I'm like, maybe I do like Barbarian.
Yeah, and
I just didn't realize.
Hell, if you want to make this not giant themed and just strong as fuck Barbarian, easy. I don't like it's so. These are just such cool subclasses.
You can kind of even reflavor it to be like Durgar kind of theme. Because the Durgar, they can like buff themselves to get larger and bigger. So
and the I don't think this one has had proficiency bonus usage yet, but they're leaning even harder into that with the next ones that are coming up. So
just in the Mighty Impel.
Just in the Mighty Impel.
Yeah, it's DC equals 8 plus your prof bonus plus your strength.
Starting to see that even more. So we know they're gonna triple, double, and quadruple down. I said that out of order, but you know what I mean. But what's next?
The Primeval Druid. This, just reading it, you tap it into the time-worn memory of the earth. You're summoning these druids summon, and bond the spirit of a primal behemoth.
Yep.
That sounds awesome. A hulk creature that once ruled the ancient world alongside the giants. I love that idea.
Is this not just Summoner from Final Fantasy 14?
Yeah.
Those are like more gods in a sense, but they're primeval ancients from a time long gone, or not too long ago.
So in my head, I just thought of dinosaurs for the primeval, but I think you're more accurate than I am.
This is Summoner in Pathfinder.
Yes, you don't have to kill them to take their abilities.
Yeah, so interesting. We've got the second level stuff. That's what druids get, anyways. But again, this is something I've never seen. Getting a proficiency in something, awesome.
Yeah.
But you now have a D4 that you can add anytime that you roll the ability check for history,
which is cool. But I think it's cool only in certain games. Not everyone makes as many history checks.
Yeah,
as
absolutely.
Our games probably do.
But in the right game, like a free Bardic Inspiration D4, anytime you do it, on top of your probably +5 to intelligence that you've got, featuring my cat Booty. I know it's a smaller table cat, and you'll have to find your space here, but I'm liking that you're not just getting things from your main class and your race. It's adding more diversity, and this is because they've removed or given you the option to be versatile or the variant version of any class where you can pick your bonuses. So this is necessary. Really, really cool. Primeval Companion, I always feel weird about summons because it's essentially just like a living weapon, right? This thing has the ability to do a strike, and you can do it any of your bludgeoning, piercing, slashing damage.
And even more so, less hyped about classes built around it, because like the Warlock summon aberration, it's cool, but it's a spell, you're concentrating. It's a cool little feature that it does.
No.
Yeah, the cat's thinking about jumping. It's still thinking about jumping. And then the other classes that can summon small little creatures here and there, cool, interesting, whatever. But then you get into Beastmaster, then you get into like Drake Warden, and those are full classes themed around the summon companion idea.
Which isn't great already.
And none of them just hit. And I don't know about you, but I don't think this. I feel they've learned nothing from Beastmaster and Drake Warden for this class.
The problem is you're losing interesting features for a body that can just hit and whack.
Yeah.
Now, I love the intercept attack feat. It can essentially, if it's 5 feet within something and it sees it taking damage, it can just make it take half the damage.
Sure.
Anytime. But obviously, like, this thing has a limited HP pool. It's 10 plus 5 times your Druid level.
That's one thing it can do.
One thing you can do, and
strike.
then everything else is a strike. Now
You can cast a spell through it.
Yeah, and you're a Druid, so you're doing everything that you can already with just a chunky summon. And that's a bit of fun. It's kind of like a living weapon spell that you've got out there. It's using your wild shape feature. So you don't have to use it, but that's the subclass.
Like I would rather wild shape, honestly.
Yeah, and everything else past this is about
Changes it.
changing it, giving it more health. Like, and I mean a shitload more health. It goes to 10 times, I believe, your level at some point when you get to 14.
The hulking behemoth, yeah.
And it gets some really interesting stuff, making things able to do extra damage, reducing
save
stuff
from
speed.
your AoE and not take any damage. That's nice.
So you don't have to worry about casting your AoE stuff as much. But unless you're like super, super into summoning and you don't care if it's a little bland, I want more reactions, actions, and bonus actions on these
I think
summons.
they
need
need more customizability with this bad boy, because it literally is just because like at least with Beastmaster, as many issues that thing has, it gives you options to customize the type of beast that you're summoning, what you got, who you're with. Drake Warden, you can customize what your Drake is doing and what element it's attached to. It just strikes, intercepts an attack, and you can cast spells through it, and then it eventually does more damage or gets bigger.
Really like base Druid already, and just see this as an extra bonus. Now, its stats aren't terrible. It's got a 15 in strength, 15 in dex, 17 in con, and then some really bad stats for pretty much everything else. But I mean, it makes sense. But
to me, it makes sense, but I don't like it because Druid's a full caster.
Yes.
While Ranger is not. So that's why they can play with a little more, give them more options. So having something that doesn't require concentration, which this companion does not require concentration, or utilize a spell slot, which is a big bag of hit points that's there embodying the battlefield, doing more damage, I can see why they're a little wary about what they're adding.
Come on,
kid.
Come on, my companion, my primeval companion cat. Get off the desk. Come on.
Come on. Cats just look at you sometimes like, I know what you want.
Well, she's already full. Come on. Can you? Yeah. I'm sorry. This is why you don't want your primeval companion.
True.
Because they're going to sit on your desk. And I just finally took off my top mouse pad off my glorious Evangelion full-size desk pad. And she sits her booty on there. Yeah, that's dangerous. And she doesn't have the cleanest booty all the time. But like Ryan said, it's not enough. But D&D is simple. You know, they don't want to freak somebody out, say they want to be a summoner. Your DM goes, hey, here's this class that can summon something, and it's probably the most straightforward summoner that there is. They can look at it and probably run it.
They probably don't want to make it super, because Druid already is a very complex class.
Yes.
I mean, it gets every spell under the sun. I mean, you can choose what you want to prepare and whatnot. So they can be pretty overwhelming for a new player. So this is, while you figure out what spells you're going to be casting and things, you know what your companion is doing. It's striking.
Yeah. And the scale is with your proficiency bonus to keep this relevant as you continue going on. But the proficiency bonus presents a limitation. You can't min-max. It is always just as strong as it is. And there literally is no customization. It's going to be +2 plus your proficiency bonus to hit. Always. 1d8 plus proficiency bonus, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing. So I don't feel like it scales that well either. The abilities are okay, but you know, that's...
I mean, it's nice you can just keep summoning it back,
yes.
Right? That's handy. I also noticed there's no circle spells. Some of the newer Druid classes have had, Druid circle spells. There are none here. I think it'd be cool to see like circle abilities maybe that the creature can do. So if you're the circle does that, or I don't know. It just gives you more options to play with. I think that's what this is missing, is options.
Yeah. Now, the final thing, because this leans into a lot of the scaling for the next one, scaling based off of the level of spell slot you use. So the Scourge of the Ancients, it allows you to expend a spell slot of any level to heighten your Primeval's Companion's Might, like we talked about already. So the HP is going to be 10 times the level of the spell used. Ninth level. 90 HP.
90 HP, right?
You know, and it attains a maximum possible size in the space available. But
and then it deals an additional damage equal to 1d8 plus the level of the spell slot.
1d8 plus 9, that's good. So that's going to be, with its hit, it's going to be 1d8 already, so 2d8 plus.
And then it can move an additional walking speed of 5 times the level of your spell. So
it does kind of feel like you've got a high CR monster 45. On your side. You know?
Yeah.
It lasts for an hour too.
But it's just, I mean, at 14th level, okay, bear with me. 14th level.
I mean, it's not going to kill
anything.
How
much damage is it doing? It's still at 14th level.
It's 2d8 plus max 9 for the spell slot, plus 2 plus your proficiency bonus.
And it attacks once. I mean, it's not, I guess.
Oh, it doesn't get multi-attack?
No. I mean, but just as a creature that is there on the battlefield to soak up damage that you're not using concentration for, and you get to cast other high-level spells with it, and it gets a little buff from those, it's kind of like a magic card.
Well, remove the first word from that and then say it again. It's kind of like a card.
Like a card.
Because unless I'm mistaken, it doesn't have the magic trait on its attack.
No, it is not. I don't believe so.
What?
And how many creatures are resistant to non-magic
almost
damage?
Everything at late level.
I mean, hell, you get in the little one shot we just did. A couple of those creatures had that was level 5, had resistance to non-magic weapons.
Do you want this to be the main thing that people are using or not?
I think this is the class that needs the biggest buff from this group, which is weird to me because UA usually has pretty powerful stuff and they tone it down. This is the opposite.
Yeah.
They need to buff this bad boy.
The hulking behemoth stuff, like those boosts to the stats are crazy, but at a 9th level spell that you could have cast a wish with,
yeah,
it's like, well, damn, it better be able to cast a wish itself. And yes, I agree, my cat, come here so I can keep you from doing anything crazy. The next one,
the Runecrafter Wizard class.
Holy shit!
So before we get into it, let's address the elephant in the room.
The behemoth dude, the primal.
Not that one. The other one. People on our Discord have pointed this out, and I wholeheartedly agree. By people, I mean Kenneth in our Discord. I wholeheartedly agree with Kenneth that this should not be a wizard class. I think it should be an artificer.
I don't know.
The reason I feel that way is because you craft things, you're doing runes type stuff.
Wizards do runes and stuff, runes of power and whatnot.
Yeah.
Artificer's more mechanic.
This has mechanics, though, of an artificer.
I mean, like mechanics is in theming towards tinkering and technique.
But there are some artificers that are... This reminds me... I think I just want more artificer classes, too. We already have a billion wizard classes. This would be a great artificer subclass.
Do artificers get as many spells as wizards do?
No, they do not. That's the difference.
Yeah. There's the specific features of when you cast a spell, you attach a rune to it that I do not think fits Artificer. Yeah. Artificer is about preparation and doing these beforehand.
But everything else, sure.
Really good point.
But anyway, yeah.
I won't refute it. I do like
the class though
a lot.
A lot.
The first thing, in a sense here, what was this? Is that anything crazy? That expanding spell slot doesn't count against. Oh, it's the feats that I was freaking out about.
Yes, promise the feats. The feats are really cool.
What the fuck? Yeah, you get the ability to do runes and whatnot, so it's cool. Runic empowerment.
Yeah, and they scale.
They do.
They scale. I wrote that on here. I know Braxton likes scaling things. These scale as you get better and cast bigger spells and stuff.
What's your most powerful thing as a wizard already? Your spells, right? So these, whenever you cast a spell, using a spell slot, you can invoke one of the following runes right away when you get this subclass. The life rune, which allows you within 30 feet to give somebody the target of the spell, I believe. And you can choose your spell. When you evoke these runes, nope, you just pick
just anyway,
whatever. 5 temp HP. So it's kind of like a MOBA or
5
Overwatch.
times the level.
I think Brigitte, she does something. She throws a little bit of armor and health on you.
Yeah.
And you can do this proficiency bonus times. So at this level, it's twice. So you can give somebody 10 HP, which at that level is like almost double their health.
Yeah, that's life changing.
Literally. Pretty damn good.
I mean, hell, give it to yourself. As a wizard, you'll have like 15 HP.
I just love the support vibes of this. Like as a melee fighter,
there's a lot of options here.
Knowing this guy's on my team, I'm like, fuck yeah.
It's the opposite of the Druid one, where this has so many options.
So many things. War Rune, it's going to allow you, again, a creature you can see within 30 feet until the end of your next turn. Attack rolls that target the chosen creature. This is a debuff to them. Gain a bonus equal to half the level of the spell slot expended. Attack rolls. So 2 hit, not damage. So these things people aren't going to miss. If you got your melee fighters and whatnot that have Great Weapon Master, they're never going to not use it because you could do a 7th level spell and add a plus fucking 7 to it, or God forbid you do a 9th level spell. Be careful, but it's only 1 round, so use it in moderation. When you invoke this rune, your speed increases as well for the wind one, 5 times the level of the spell slot.
Cool.
Goddamn.
Man, I don't see none of these are more. There's some that I would probably usually pick over the others, but overall, I mean, all of these are very situationally important.
Yeah, and there's no downside. It's just win more. You're already casting a spell, which does awesome things. You can do it twice, up to 5, which I think is where the proficiency bonus eventually gets.
Yes, I believe so.
So per long rest, really awesome. Lots of options. I really enjoy when I'm doing something, seeing 3 paths and just being able to pick one rather than just
this one, life rune looks the best, or we're fighting something, let's go with war rune. Oh, we're running from somebody, win.
Everybody's going all in. We can't fucking hit him because AC is too high. Let me just lower his AC by a amount of spell slot stuff that I expend.
You're kind of like you're like a little mini cleric here. You can just give someone some health.
Yes, I believe
you can even cast and cure wounds.
You can invoke no more than 1 rune per spell. You can use this feature a number of times. So I think you can do more than once per turn if you can cast multiple spells per turn, which might not be able to.
You'd only be able to cast another cantrip.
It's a sorcerer thing. You have to use a spell slot. So once per turn at least. Rune sigils of warding.
Sigils.
Yeah, so you can guard yourself against threats and just decide to not fail something.
Yeah, so you just get legendary resistance at level 6. It's pretty nice.
What?
I mean, it makes you feel less bad whenever I as a DM go, they're just going to decide to save this time. You're like, you know what? I'm just going to decide to save this time as well. Thanks.
You use your runic empowerment, so it takes one of the ones that you would have been able to use. True. But you're up against a vampire and you are a wizard and have -2 to your strength already, and if they suck out your strength, you're going to die. You're like, I'm just going to not fail that? Cool. Easy. That's just fucking awesome. Rune Maven, I think this isn't super crazy. It just
I like it just because it's got arcane recovery, and I think that's cool and underutilized.
It's buffing things that already exist. So I was incorrect. You could have 5 from your proficiency bonus, but the higher your intelligence mod is,
eventually start getting more.
You get half that. So if you have 5 from the Rune Maven, you'll get buffed up to, I think, rounded up. So
an arcane recovery is a short rest. So eventually you start getting short rest abilities to get your stuff back.
Yeah. So per short rest, you can get 3 back every time if you have max intelligence at 10th level.
Which is good.
Per long rest, you can get 8.
It makes you not want to just like hold these back. You're like, I'm just going to keep tossing them out, kind of like Bardic Inspirations.
Well, you see them talking about, they're doing like Warlock stuff for non-Warlock.
Well, just wait. I bet the next Warlock class is going to blow your mind at what they're messing with.
I don't think it will. I don't think it will. Know. Because all I want is just better Hexblade, and they're never going to.
That's true. They're probably not going to do that again.
And I don't want them to do that because we already have Hexblade. It's just crazy. Engrave Enmity. Remember Final Fantasy 14? That's the tank
Always
thing.
Get the Enmity.
Get the Enmity. This allows you to make something. Do a bunch of stuff. You mark an enemy within 6 feet of yourself
that you see.
So don't be blind, or they will. I think it's.
Well, see, this is where this little syntax issues, because it says you have to target one creature you can see, but it says if they're invisible, then they're no longer invisible. But if they're invisible, you can't see them.
You
doesn't work.
Could have true sight.
Just reword it. True, if you had true sight, true.
So it does make sense, but it's very weird. But essentially, yes, no more invisible things if you get cast on this wall.
They can't become invisible.
Yes. They have disadvantage against your saving throws made spells that you cast. So cool. And Woeful Curse. Whenever you decide to use a bonus action to curse it For the duration, which is, I believe, 1 minute, so 6 rounds, similar to Hexblade. It's Curse, essentially. The next time one of your allies hits it, so not you, one of your allies, with an attack roll, it also takes 1d8 force damage, and the curse ends. Not crazy, right?
No.
Just an extra little bit of damage.
I mean, the main thing would be the first thing. Because it's all 3 of these at the same time. Then the curse ends, but you still have the other 2, so they can't go invisible, and they have disadvantage on every saving throw against spells you cast. And that's pretty nice.
I do feel for 14th level, a one-time bonus action d8 of force damage feels a little weird.
Yeah.
But I try to remember whenever I think about adding an extra damage dice that increasing your weapon in Pathfinder or D&D, making the dice doubled, that's a crit, 1 in 20 chance, or usually it takes 10 to 20 levels to even just get the chance at an extra damage dice. Your modifier is a +5 to damage, and it takes a shitload of effort to make that higher. So adding possibly +8 to damage, in terms of value, I see why they put it here. Like it in the system mechanically, it's a high value thing.
Yeah, and
it feels low.
The problem I have though, the disadvantage thing is first they have to fail your save originally to get the wisdom. They have to fail your wisdom save first, and then they have disadvantage on. So I guess so I could see you casting this, then doing like, all right, I'm gonna try to hold person now. So you got to get this on first, which luckily it's a bonus action. So you're not wasting your entire turn. You're not wasting an action either, or a spell. So if this doesn't hit, then you're like, we tried.
It's definitely a little clunky. It is for 6 rounds, but you won't be able to do Woeful Curse in the first round because that also takes a bonus action. So I feel like there's a little bit of quality of life.
Also
and
concentration. I forgot about that. So you can't do whole person with it.
Okay, I don't like this one.
It's not very good.
You can use a 3rd level spell slot or higher to refresh it, but otherwise it's long rest to get it back.
Yeah, which also sucks if you do this on you don't want to do this on a big bad boss because you want to make sure their legendary resistances are gone. Because if they do save it, you can't do it again. Yeah, it's not great at 14th level. Everything else, great. Love it.
Cool. I mean, would I rather have this or at 10th level be able to kill a thing and turn it into a specter? Probably that.
Probably.
Again, that's a warlock class. No, it's fucking stupid.
But how
terrible.
About those feats, huh?
Holy shit! I was actually freaking out when I read these.
So there's a lot of feats here, and I think how we can boil them down is we can talk about elemental touch for sure, great, and then there's like 3 in a row, maybe 4 in a row that are basically the same thing,
same template,
but just change what the feature is. So we can talk about those together.
Crazy. I'll try to skim through and.
Actually, there's like 6, 7 of those. All the ones of yada yada of the blank giant. And there's a handful of those. So let's start with those first. The ones that are yada yada of the blank giant. Cool. Very nice. They're copy paste with slightly differing abilities, like we said. Most of them are very powerful. The only prerequisite for those are either be 4th or 8th level, I think.
Ryan, these are hands down the strongest feats that have ever been put into.
I would say so. I mean, for example, let's do Ember of the Fire Giant. You have to be 8th level.
Okay.
You have resistance to fire damage. Boom, right off the bat. Then when you take the attack action, so imagine you're that barbarian from earlier. Whenever you
replace your attack.
Attacking the attack action, you replace one of your attacks with a magical burst of flame. Each creature of your choice within 15 feet of you can see must make a dexterity saving throw. On a failed save, the creature takes fire damage equal to 2d6 plus your prof bonus and is blinded until the start of your next turn.
All right, so let's look here. Mm-hmm. This is an additional ability that doesn't take any of your other resources. Mm-hmm. It can be anywhere from 2 to 5 uses as you level up based off your proficiency bonus. Your weapon as a barbarian, even if it's the most crazy weapon ever, probably does 2d8 plus your prof. This is AoE and blinds.
And
what?
Because you can replace it with one of your attacks. You hit them once with your greatsword. Second attack, you burst out magical flame.
Yeah.
And then third attack, and then you haste and you keep going.
This is like the way I see this, and I love it, is Ashes of War weapon arts in Dark Souls.
It also doesn't say that you can do it only once a turn. So if you can attack multiple times, you just keep shooting this thing off.
Yeah. So you take a look at
kind of scary.
Rykard's weapon in Elden Ring, not to like super spoil, but it's a great sword. Does a lot of damage. You just whack, whack, whack. But if you do the weapon art, so your L2, it does a massive slap of fire that streams way out forward and does a shitload of damage and knockback. This is bonkers.
Yeah.
Feats now either allow you to swim or give you a language or
add your a couple points to your charisma modifier.
Add a spell to your spell list that you can learn. Like
and you can cast it once for free.
These are Pathfinder level and a little stronger feats.
Yeah, these are very nice. And I mean, because the prerequisite's only 4th level or 8th level, you could get a couple of these bad boys.
Yeah, the Fury of the Fostrant 4th level, before I even read the level requirements, like, okay, this is way weaker because all it does is basically invoke Frighten on somebody and give you resistance, but it's 4th level rather than 8.
Level, yeah.
But the thing is, feats stay with you and there's really no way to change them.
True, unless you have a nice team.
So it feels a little weird, unless you have a nice team. So it feels a little weird getting that when, later on. But by far the fucking best one, like that's damage. Fire is always going to be that way. Guile of the Cloud Giant. What the fuck?
Oh, okay.
What the actual fuck?
I thought you're going a different way with this one. Guile of the Cloud Giant is
you can cast a blur spell for free. Warlock, give me this. I say without a spell slot, and I'm like, what is going on? Long rest, you need blah, blah, blah. You can cast a spell using the spell slots if you want, if you have them of appropriate level. You double your proficiency in either deception or persuasion as well. What?
Now, so like how we tell me these spells, and it's cool to get extra
Blur's
spells
insane.
you can cast for free. Do you have the same opinion on Runecarver Apprentice?
I was shitting myself when I was reading that.
So if you like the Guile of the Frost Cloud Giant, Runecarver Apprentice, that's
like,
I mean, of course, there's no blur, but so if you don't know, if you're not initiated, this is a no prerequisite feat, so you can get this as early as possible. That's at 4th level, which is weird because I mean, technically, it's all prerequisites. You have to be 4th level, right? That's your first time you could get a feat.
You have to get this feat, and then you have to take Runecarver as well. Adept.
You don't have
It's
to.
2 feats.
You don't have to.
If you have a cool DM, sure. But that's insane.
But anyway, so Runecarver Apprentice, you studied out of Runecraft, so went to the wizard, and when you take a long rest, you choose an article of clothing and imbue the rune into it, and you get to pick what the rune is, and that corresponds with a spell, and you get to know that spell. They're all 1st level spells, so it's nothing absolutely absurd, but you can cast it for free, or using any spell slot you have.
Guys, imagine a warlock.
Okay, I'm imagining it.
What is your limit on piece of clothing?
You can only do it once, right?
You can wear a ton.
Yeah, but you can only put it on one at a time.
You just do another long rest and you get another one.
Yeah.
Do you know how many... These spells in particular are ones that people, when they're making warlocks, and again, I'm fucking sorry.
Well, no, once you use it, once you take a long rest, that last one fades. Is that what you're talking about?
Oh, it's gone?
Yeah. So you only get once per long rest.
Only once, but still an extra
spell
slot is good. But do you know how often it's like, well, I really want this 1st level spell. I want Armor of Agathis, but...
You get Adept. Adept allows you to do it as many times equal to your proficiency bonus. So you can get up to 5 eventually.
Up to 5 extra spell slots for Bane and Bless.
And Heroism and...
Armor of Agathis.
Thunderwave. Sanctuary.
Cure, like...
Ray of Sickness, Burning Hands. I mean, there's a lot of Guiding Bolts in here. I mean, there's a lot of great
Shield.
options.
And for no use of your spell slots at 4th level.
I think the only downside of this would be balance-wise, like kind of like you're saying, it kind of starts throwing things to the wall, and it makes some classes that get specific spells less unique.
This is
because anyone can take this
at 4th level. This is 5 Mystic Arcanums as a warlock because they refresh on long rest. It takes you until, 10th or 11th level to get a 6th level Mystic Arcanum, a long rest spell that gets refreshed.
And I'm not kidding. Literally anybody can take this. You don't have to be able to cast spells. Anybody.
Now, yeah, it again, I'm sorry, Warlock is the thing I have most reference for, but this would either replace your Agonizing Blast or if you're doing the Darkness thing, your ability to see in the dark invocation or whatever. Wait, no, fuck off. This is a feat.
It's a feat, yeah.
It's strange. It leans into that homogenizing shit.
It does.
But
That's very powerful.
I told you literally, and I've told people, I think I'm good on Warlock.
But he's changed his mind.
And yeah, they're first level spells.
But I mean, this is powerful. I mean, shield. You cast it once for free.
I'm pretty sure a lot of these spells aren't on the Warlock spell list, or
No.
these might.
A lot of these are not.
Like
shield's not on there.
I don't know if I get a feat now. This is technically 2 feats, but I'm tempted as shit.
Yeah.
Even like for the live play.
Yeah, like I said, you don't have to be able to be a spellcaster. You don't have to.
My character has a family who works in fucking smithing and shit and runes and whatnot, and scribing characters onto them. I'm genuinely asking you, like, is this okay?
Of course. I mean, your spellcasting ability is your intelligence, wisdom, or charisma. You choose when you get this feat. So if you have a high any of those, boom, this is charisma. Perfect for you.
Armor of Agathis. It's fucking crazy.
This is very powerful.
Soul of the whatever. There's bigger they're similar to the previous ones essentially.
The only other one that I thought was pretty great was Elemental Touched. I like that one.
That was really cool. Too. Very, very cool. I don't know if 1 minute invoking disadvantage to hit you. This Soul of the Storm Giant at 8th level. This is similar to Shadow of Moil. And you can only use it once per long rest. It's a bonus action. You also can cast Divination without needing to use components. It does cost a spell slot.
Loves that one.
Yeah, it's cool. And then Vigor of the Hill Giant's the last one. I don't think this one was crazy. Like, it's prone resistance, and you regain hit points when you're subjected to a spell that restores you based off your con mod. So it's an extra buff to healing.
What level are we in our home game?
12. I don't think we do.
Wait, did you just turn 12?
13.
Oh, no, you don't. You only get another one until 16th.
Yeah, okay.
Damn,
that makes sense. It's not like that big of a deal, but it's really cool.
Look at that, huh?
But if I take first level fighter, I get a feat. I think.
Do they? Let me check.
I'm not sure. Could be wrong. I don't know if it'll be a big decision. But this is something I'm heavily considering for the live play. And my general rule with Unearthed Arcana stuff, and I don't know if Ryan does this or enforces it or not, but I think it's the risk reward. If it gets edited and printed, that's what you have.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right.
It's reasonable, right?
Yeah. No, you get the same as everyone at level 4.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, if I wanted to do that, I'd probably level up 4 more times. But this
UA 2022,
I will say, is my favorite Unearthed Arcana that has ever come out.
Whoa.
Now, it's the issue of power creep, right?
Yeah.
Like, all of this is just better than literally everything that has ever been printed.
Ain't that the
prior.
truth?
So, that's something that's
Except for the Druid.
Except for the Druid. I will say power creep can be bad, but I do think base D&D, the power level is too low. Yeah. So I want everything to be at this or just slightly below this power level.
We're playing a fantasy game. We want to have fun, crazy stuff going on.
But I like what they're doing with some of the abilities, giving more options, and I love what they're doing with the feats and making them more than just an increase to stat.
We were just talking about feats last episode, and in our Discord, we're having a little discussion about feats and how their D&D and WotC seems to be viewing feats, and I think this backs up those ideas.
Mm-hmm. So this has me nervous and excited for Warlock stuff, because they also have to look at invocations, which are basically just feats.
Yeah.
I was super psyched about this. I was very surprised that I enjoyed it. Usually the theme turns me off.
So are you interested for like a 5.5e Warlock? What do you think their vision could be?
I don't know, because they're making feats into invocations now. Yeah. So invocations either
so maybe
just
they would
need
rework.
to.
Yeah, invocations were.
I don't know if they need to like I would want a rework, but everything should just have invocations. Everything should have building blocks. And I know they don't want to just be Pathfinder, but it's just too fun. And it can be an optional thing. Like, here's the set, like, give your player the sheet. This is the set abilities. Here's your optional feats if they want to swap them out.
Yeah.
Easy. So I will hold my judgment for Warlock until I see what they do with it, because I think that's why it's like a class from a different system.
Yes.
It really is. But I was excited about this. I have not been this happy with a view into what they're making for at least Unearthed Arcana in a while. The first view of it was that sorcerer subclass, and that was controversial because it's just very powerful, right? Mm-hmm. So we do have some power play to be careful of, but this is like really hopeful for me. I'm excited.
I'm curious if this will be finalized, but because we don't know what's coming out near the end of this year.
Yeah.
So maybe this will be like something that comes out at the end of the year, but I'd be happy with that. Or if it can't be an adventure. It'd have to be like a source material book.
I mean, if there's, it's got to be source material for giants, just like what dragons would be, you know?
Ooh, that could be kind of fun.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
I mean, it could be the dragon. I don't know how big giants are in Dragonlance, but it could be in the Dragonlance campaign setting.
That's what I was thinking. Something like that. I don't think they would do it for the other one with the portals and the similar structure to due to the library school place.
Oh, no, probably not.
No.
I'd be surprised if there's any player options in there.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised too. But, sorry, I'm seeing some trending tweets on my Instagram, my Twitter. But anyways.
Looks like giants, I mean, from a very quick Google search, looks like giants are pretty important in Dragonlance, slightly. So
could be. I could see it in any of them, honestly. I was excited. Let us know what you thought about this one. I'm sure a lot of you are feeling the disconnect between the early level design stuff and the new stuff. And it's a massive power creep. So I would love to have a conversation about that. You guys toss stuff in our Discord.
Especially some of these writers weren't on some of the other stuff. Like Mackenzie DeArmas, I believe I've only seen her name in some newer material. I know James Wyatt's only been in new material. So maybe just having these new perspectives and new ideas is what's really branching them off.
Well, they've been taking a lot of feedback and they're finally starting to act on it rather than trickling it in. Way long ago when they were getting the feedback, they said, let's hold off for just a bit. Let's keep designing a similar way that we've been doing for the past few years. Now that things are getting closer, I'm starting to adjust and edit. I'm excited.
Hell yeah.
It gets me excited but upset because we've been like, damn, like I'm not excited about WotC stuff like that much anymore. But then all the announcements they made about Spelljammer got me hyped up.
D&D Direct we're excited about. So I mean,
it's just good shit. All right. If you guys want to talk to us, you can do that on social media at Dungeon Crawl Pod, Twitter and Instagram, or you can jump in our Discord, which is in the link tree below. We constantly have people either comment on our YouTube vids or in our Discord, and they just throw them in there. I'm like, well, hell yeah, this is awesome. We get comments about books that come out or things that we don't notice, and we get episode ideas from it. So it's so much fun. We just finished I finished my first campaign.
Yeah.
The Zelda 5e game. It was absolutely phenomenal. The DM Koss wrote music for it, and we had no idea it wasn't a song made by an amazing composer on Spotify or actually by Nintendo.
So next thing that guy runs in there, make sure you're in the Discord so you can
whatever Koss does. Just keep he's I think he's on Twitter and whatnot, and he's still a student, so he's not like somebody out there being a creator in public.
Even just a little Call of Cthulhu that we didn't get to play more, but even just that one session we did, he does amazing stuff, and I wish we had recorded that last session because it was an amazing boss fight. I'll talk more about it in a different episode when we broach finishing a campaign because he's getting close. So I talked to Koss and I said, hey, if we do that episode, get some thoughts,
can he jump in? Yeah. He I could tell he was like, because even though I feel like he's a good friend of mine, he still is a fan of the show. Yeah. He's still a fan of the show, and just seeing him get excited about that. Big shout out to Koss. I don't know if or when you'll see this, but hi, we love you. Yes, the Discord's in the link tree below. As well in the link tree is going to be our Patreon. If you feel like supporting us, like the person or people that are scrolling across the screen.
See some live play content?
Yes, there'll be more offered with that, just like we've said on the Patreon itself. I don't remember what we particularly do, but it's the unedited or like early
completely
version.
Unedited stream of us just chatting around, shooting the shit, which we cut out for the most part of the live play that gets uploaded for podcast purposes.
Yeah, like that.
So us talking to the stream beforehand, afterwards, talking about, wow, that was a great session. We really enjoyed that, or stuff like that. We usually will include all of that in the VOD.
Get your booties in there. The other announcement I would say is that we have nothing else blocking it other than scheduling.
Oh, yes.
2 weeks from this episode.
No, it'd be...
No?
A week from this episode.
A week from this episode
releasing. If everything goes to plan.
If everything goes to plan. So...
if not, that'll be the week after that.
What is that date?
The June 7th.
June 7th is theoretically when we should be streaming.
If not the 21st. But ideally, June 7th would be nice.
Yes.
I'm going to write in my calendar.
You have a date. Finally, if you've been binging the podcast, this is the one you've been waiting for.
Yeah.
There we go. Email,
We don't know what
thedungeoncrawlpod.
time, though. We're probably doing it yet.
I imagined probably sometime after 7 p.m. CST.
Yeah, we'll iron it out as we get closer, but that's the tentative time.
It was a lot of fun. Like, genuinely, it was a lot of fun. And just amongst a lot of stuff going on, at least with some of our home games or things that I'm going on with my circle of friends, like there's been a bunch of stuff going on. So it's great to have something fun happening.
Just escape into, yeah.
If you want to talk to us about other fun things in a long form format, thedungeoncrawlpod@gmail.com. That is all I have for today.
Yeah, all I have is I've recently been rewatching the Toy Story movies, which still slap. Yeah,
Damn.
We started with 1, watched 2, then watched 3 a couple nights ago, but they still slap, even though we're adults now. But there's a scene where there's dinosaurs. Rex, the dinosaur, and he, spoiler alert, he meets another dinosaur at some point in their travels. And they become best buds and play games together all the time.
I don't remember this.
You remember this? Toy Story 3, shout out. And Toy Story 4.
I haven't.
You haven't seen those? You've only seen 1 and 2?
I've seen 3, I think.
3 is when they go to daycare. You remember that?
No, I didn't see that. Did I see that? They have a 4. Is it Toy Story 4?
Yep. And I recommend you watch all of them. To complete sidebar, but I felt whenever those came out, I was very upset. I was like, how dare they? 1 and 2, great. 2 films.
They follow the timelines when they're older, right? And the kid goes to college or something.
That's why they still slap. Because 3rd was amazing. And I was like, okay, you know what? That's a great trilogy. And then the 4th got announced. I got so angry again. How dare they, stop it. Loved it. Anyway, there's a scene where the 2 dinosaurs, which are primeval monsters, let everyone know now, very old, ancient creatures. Obviously, they're in toy form, so it's a little different.
Yeah.
But they're playing a game on the computer. And they accidentally slap because they got some big hands. Rex is a little smaller, but the Triceratops, yeah, they're animals.
T-Rexes?
No, Rex doesn't. The Triceratops.
I was about to fucking say.
Big heavy, like paw hands. Yeah. So they hit Alt-Tab at the same time on the computer, and guess what's on their other window? The Dungeon Crawl podcast on Apple Podcasts.
Primeval fans.
And they had it on split screen mode. They had the left side had Apple Podcasts, the right side had Spotify.
Damn.
And they rated 5 stars on both of them.
Double whammy.
And they left a review on Apple Podcasts. But I did have a quick word with Rex afterwards. It was a nice little behind the scenes, and he was a very nice guy. But he recommends you guys all do as well. He loves the podcast and does all the time. Which was
sorry, Rex, about hating I know you were really excited about being summoned by druids, but hopefully we can get you buffed in the future.
Yes, sadly your class is a little lackluster.
Yeah.
But maybe in the future.
Time to shine.
So please do that. Go rate us 5 stars on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Let me check Spotify again since last time we talked about it. See if anyone else has done it, then I will be very happy right now. Dungeon Crawl.
Next time, maybe we do Barbarian.
Yeah. We had 12 last time. We're at 13. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe we'll do Barbarian. That seems like fun.
Maybe do Barbarian. We can decide it now. I have
we can change our opinions on it.
Yeah. And I start my new job on Tuesday.
It's cool starting. Stuff. It's begun.
Yeah, it's begun. All right, friends. Thank you for being here. Unearthed Arcana is one of my favorite things. We'll see you next time. He's been Ryan.
He's been Braxton.
This is the Dungeon Crawl. Thanks for calling with us. Go take a shower. You're kind of stinky.
I showered earlier, so I'm good.
Me too.
You're not, though.
You say 2 out of 3 people smell good.
Be that 2 out of 3 people.
Sorry.